It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your small but powerful host, Madelyn.
I'm your lower back pain host, Emma.
And welcome to this week's show. This week, it's podcast special edition, PAX Take PAX 2022.
PAX Take PAX?
Yeah.
Oh, PAX. I get it.
PAX Take PAX.
I understand. I got it.
Talk This Sisters Take PAX 2022.
I've had a year off from these, but now they are back.
We are back. They are back and PAXier than ever. Well, not really.
Yeah, a little less PAXy
Back
than before.
and about 20% less PAXy than before.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's time for our PAX recap. Our overview of games we played, experiences we had, and what it was like to return to a gaming convention 2 years and a couple of months after we thought it was fine to just use a bunch of hand sanitizer running all around.
Yeah.
Not as much hand sanitizer this time. People had just given up.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I still saw people wiping down the controllers,
Yeah.
but when they sent out like a survey to me, and I don't know if you got it.
I get nothing. Did you ever get my photo?
I didn't. I never got your photo.
Intel. Okay.
Maybe you had to activate your badge with
XP. That makes sense. Oh well. Okay, you got an email.
Yeah, and so they're just like the survey that's like, how was it? So they asked about like their safety procedures, so I just put like, wasn't a lot of hand sanitizer. Lines weren't spaced out very well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I guess masks were good.
Yeah.
You know, vaccination was good. They really felt like they were relying on those two things. Is kind of what I thought.
I was impressed by the mask compliance.
Yeah. People kept their masks on, except for in the eating areas where they were allowed to take them off.
That's
anyway.
Correct. So if you aren't familiar, PAX East is a big gaming convention, both video game and tabletop gaming convention that takes place in Boston each year, usually in February, this year in April.
Yes. Is this our third or our fourth?
This is our third.
Right.
Because we went in 2019, in 2020, and now in 2022. Emma and I went for just Thursday and Friday this year. Past years, we've done 3 days at PAX. This year, for various reasons, we only did 2. But I think 2 was the right number of days for this year.
Yeah. I mean, I remember us sort of running out of things to do in previous PAXs with 3 days.
Yeah.
But we were pretty much out of things to do by the time we left on the second day.
Yeah.
Unless we'd wanted to wait in like a 3-hour line for that one.
Yeah, and I do feel like oftentimes in previous years the issue has been, there are some other games I'd like to play, but everything on Saturday has a 3-hour line, so I'm not gonna wait. This year it was like, actually I played about 90% of what I wanted to play, and I'm not gonna wait in the 2 games that have 3-hour lines that I might have wanted to play situations. So it felt...
And we chickened out of trying the MOBA.
We did chicken out of trying the MOBA. The MOBA where we looked in line, we were like, wait a minute. Every person in line for this game is a man. Every single one.
Yeah.
Just that one time. There were women in line at other points, but...
Yeah. We just picked a bad time.
It was striking that time when we were considering doing it, we were like, I don't know, will it be embarrassing? It was like, only male-presenting gamers in line for this. But to me, it felt more like a more satisfying, I've done everything that I wanted to do version than the experience of the past few years, where it's like, okay, I've done everything I want to do because I don't want to wait in a huge line.
Yeah.
So, I would have enjoyed trying Cult of Lamb. I know it'll come out.
Yeah.
Probably go in the new game hat.
Probably.
play it for the show. So Thursday and Friday was great. I shouldn't say this on the show, but the real secret of PAX is that you should go on Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because Thursday was really quiet in a very pleasant way. So, Emma, do you want to talk a little bit? Do you have any standout games that jump out to you? I've got what I think is a relatively comprehensive list.
I'm relying on your list. I have all of the pamphlets and thingamajigs that we collected, but I didn't feel like spreading them out in front of me for recording this show, so I was like, Madelyn probably handled it. And I also, like, you'll mention things and it'll trigger in my head, but I don't remember things unless I write them down somewhere, so...
Alright, so we're gonna have a really good recap for Emma. It's gonna be like, that sure is a game. Well, I feel like one of your top games, and one of the few demos that we played on Friday, not few, but we played a lot more on Thursday than we did on Friday, was I Was a Teenage Exocolonist at the Finji booth.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one. It's sort of in the name.
So it basically...
Although I guess you start as like 10 years old, don't you?
Yeah.
So... preteen exocolonist.
I was a preteen and then a teenage exocolonist. Yeah, so I feel like in this game, yeah, you go and you're colonizing a new planet, and it seems like kind of on a monthly basis, you're a kid, you get to decide how you're going to spend your time to level up various stats, seemingly with the goal of, like, living to your 20s, basically.
Yeah. You seem to be having, like, visions of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Or a future, because they seem to change in each vision. I don't know if they just change randomly because you can get any of those, or if it actually is changing based on, like, what your current percentages are right now, or, like, your affinity with the other kids, for instance. Because every time they showed me a vision of the future, like, my girlfriend was different.
But we said at the time, it really felt like it kind of scratched Emma's Fire Emblem itch, or part, sort of. Not the strategy gaming part, but maybe the Fire Emblem Three Houses itch.
Oh, I guess a little bit. I mean, it's also just like, it sort of felt like, I mean, it's like it's an RPG.
Right.
It's like, it felt like friendlier version of Disco Elysium, I guess.
Yeah, not quite.
A little less room for failure. But yeah, I do see the Fire Emblem comparison now, because you choose what you do each month. Yeah. So there's, like, the time management and the sort of socialization of it. I don't know if there's any combat or anything once you actually start being allowed to leave the colony, because I was still 10 when we finished the demo, so we weren't allowed to go on, like, exhibitions, I guess. Exhibitions. We were at an exhibition.
We are allowed to go to exhibitions.
Yeah. But you have, like, you know, your social, your more granular stats in that sort of Disco Elysium way.
I thought the card system was interesting too.
Yeah, it seems like you get cards based on your experiences. And then, like, they have, like, the way that you set them up determines whether you succeed in certain things.
You play, like, a light poker sort of game.
Yeah.
With those cards when you're doing your, like, whatever monthly kind of training thing that you decide to do.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one I'll definitely, I think, be checking out when it comes out. I think it's just Steam right now, so we'll see if I talk myself into getting it on Steam, or if it's a Disco Elysium situation where I get it on Steam, I play the first hour like 4 times, and then get it on console and finally actually play the game.
We'll see if it's like you decide, you're like, what system have I not purchased for myself yet? A Steam Deck? Don't mind if I do.
I'm waiting a couple years for a Steam Deck just to see if Valve actually continues to support it, right?
That's fair.
or if it's just like a funny thing that they unleashed into the world and are gonna abandon.
I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I thought that one looked really fun. Assuming it comes out on Steam for Mac, I'd be interested in playing it too. We'll see. I say I never play anything on Steam, but I've been playing outrageous amounts of Civilization lately, so maybe I'm finally turning into a computer gamer.
Maybe.
That was one thing that was frustrating about PAX, by the way. Not computer games. Games can be... Well, we didn't actually play any games that were mouse and keyboard because I'm a wuss.
We avoided them.
But every game had an Xbox controller, which is a disaster.
Because they were all on computers. They were all running on computers, so I think the Xbox controller is probably the easiest controller to set up.
I get it, and I don't fault anyone. They're easy to set up Xbox controllers. It just meant that on certain games, it was very hard for me to track which button is which.
Oh yeah, the first game I tried, I think, was Trail to Yomi? Trails of Cold Steel to Yomi?
1 second.
Trek to
Trek
Yomi.
to Yomi. It's Trek. Yeah.
Which is like a sort of like a side-scrolling hard action game. And I don't know which one is the left bumper and which one is the left trigger. So I was not actually blocking when I thought I was.
You know, Click My Boyfriend uses
I was like, "What? This doesn't seem to do anything. Why would I block?" And it's like I'm pressing the R2 button, not the R1 button.
Click My Boyfriend uses that terminology sometimes, like trigger versus bumper. And I didn't realize that was like an Xbox thing.
I think the bumper is the top one and the trigger is the bottom one.
That doesn't make any
sense. Which
sense
doesn't make sense to me.
Why would I pull my trigger,
it should be the other way
with the
around.
middle finger? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think in shooters that is the bottom ones are actually usually the
they
way
are.
that you shoot.
Yeah.
But that also doesn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't it be on the top ones?
And why would you call it a bumper? Like my controller is not a car. Like I'm not the point of a bumper is to like be able to hit something and not ruin your car. You don't want to be hitting people with your controllers. That's bad.
I guess that's why the block was on the bumper then.
I guess so. Yeah, well, Emma was playing Trek to Yomi. I played Terra Nil. These were both games at the Devolver booth. It really had seemed like the big like event game of the convention, which is a little not sad exactly because of course all games are good, but it's a little underwhelming. The Cult of Lamb definitely seems like it was like the game. That was my impression.
Yeah, I mean Tiny Build had the biggest booth.
Right.
It was definitely the Devolver booth wasn't like huge or anything.
No, but I feel like at Tiny Build you could pretty much walk up. You didn't have to wait in line very long for any games, which is partially due to the fact that they had a really large booth and nothing was on just one screen.
Yeah.
But I feel like Cult of Lamb was, or maybe whatever that game was that we walked by and it was like, it's a 4-hour wait.
It was at the company's name that doesn't have any vowels in it. Yuzbrud or something. There was like some sort of 2D Sekiro type combat game that had like a very short line, but it was marked like by how long the hour wait was, and if we'd gotten into it, it would have been a 3-hour wait. Apparently very generous with their demo time.
Do you think they just do that to keep the line short?
No, I think it would be an actual 3-hour wait, although the amount of demo time maybe. They had them in like a glass like booth thing, because I saw it from the other side, so I wonder if they were treating it more like focused playtesting than like a demo just for anyone to try, and that's why the length was longer.
Yeah. Mysterious. Anyway, while Emma played Trek to Yomi, I played Terra Nil, which I feel like you said, like, I know this is a real Madelyn game, but, like, we have to go. Which was fair. But basically in that game, it's like you're on a square grid situation, and you have to use your resources to place like various environmental cleaning accoutrements to bring the world back to life. And it was indeed very satisfying.
I thought it seemed like a very you game. You like putting things down, I think.
What a weird way to describe me.
You like placing things.
No one likes to put things down. That's false. I'm incapable of putting anything down in my life. People are like, maybe you should do less. I was on a phone call with someone who, like, I have worked with some this year, but who I don't know, like, that well, who was like, you need to work for your jobs. And I was like, how dare you say this to me? You barely even know me. How dare you say something to me that is this accurate? Anyway, yeah, I love putting things down.
But you like placing things, arranging them. You like having lots of things to, like, sort of put where they should go.
I guess that's true. Not so much in real life, but... Well, if you like games that are about placing things where they should go, I would recommend Terra Nil. I don't know if it's out, but it was enjoyable. Another one that let's talk about the Tiny Build booth, since you bring it up, and I think that's literally where we went next. And I was right, the Tiny Build booth was really the only, well, other than the gigantic Intel booth, which, like, screw them for not sending me my picture. Forget Intel.
You got my good one with the rainbow light.
I did. It was good. But yeah, other than the gigantic Intel booth, the Tiny Build booth was really the only one that felt like an event booth.
Yeah. They had a weird light-up spider.
The spider was weird. The spider was not effective, to be honest. The big blow-up spider.
I also just think it's a weird choice. Like, I mean, you know, people putting all these arachnophobia modes in their games now, and it's like, here's a giant spider,
I feel like
gamers.
That's on purpose, right? Isn't that the idea? Like, they seem to know that.
Well, that's not very considerate.
The game is called Spider Hack, but you're right.
I would have preferred a big glow-up onion man. That's all.
You're right. I agree. The big glow-up onion man would have been funnier, better photo op, probably more effective. The spider really only worked from one very specific angle. Like, to their credit, there was nothing scary about that spider. It didn't really look like a spider.
I guess so. Anyway, we didn't play the spider game.
No, we didn't.
We played 3 games at the booth.
Two of which we enjoyed.
Yes. What was the onion one called?
Rhythm Sprout.
Rhythm Sprout. Yes. I liked Rhythm Sprout a lot.
In Rhythm Sprout, you're a little onion man,
yeah,
and you have to press buttons to the beat.
Yeah. You're like fighting your way through a dungeon to a rhythm, basically.
Big DDR energy, but with buttons.
Alas, we did not play actual DDR at the Intel booth because someone broke it first thing Friday morning and then they never fixed it.
The idea that I could have done simple and clean DDR and didn't get to, that I could have just like freaking slayed on like Sanctuary in front of all the gamers.
We would have been very bad at it. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Now we'll never know, will we? I could have gone up there. Could have been the moment for me. My breakout moment. But yeah, Rhythm Sprout was really fun. I would get that and play that. The music was too loud for you, I think, but the music was bopping.
The volume on all the games was too loud for me, basically.
You keep your ears too clean.
I don't think that's it. I don't know. I have trouble with loud sounds and bright colors in general, so I think I'm just sensitive.
Do you think you're a super taster, too?
Probably. I'm a super sniffer. That's for sure.
Every time Emma comes to New York, she's like, it's stinky here. Like, I guess. If you say so.
It's stinky.
So Rhythm Sprout was super fun. Tinykin was also very fun.
Yes, it's Pikmin.
I don't know, like, I'm gonna out myself as not a real gamer here. I don't really know what the gameplay of Pikmin is, to be honest.
I don't know a lot about it either, but you gather little things that do different tasks for you, basically, when you send them to do them. And that's sort of how the Tinykins was, too.
Tinykin reminded me a bit of It Takes Two. I mean, minus the obvious. But
Yeah.
that you're like a little dude running around with like different tools for interacting with the environment.
Minus the Rock cast as the Book of Love.
Minus the Rock as the Book of Love. What did I do to deserve? Like, it isn't even announced that, like, that's what he's considering, but, like, it definitely is. God. Did you see the Mario movie as a musical, maybe?
This is Miyamoto.
That was so... I also got... Everyone was like, I didn't think this was real. I also didn't think it was real when I saw it. I was like, no, it's not.
I've been talking with my partner, Chris San, about the Mario movie.
How did they have him tweet in, like, the memeiest possible way?
I feel like it must have been from the Japanese account first, and then the English account just, like, translated it, and it just came off very funny.
I guess so.
It's like, no, this isn't Miyamoto.
Yeah, it's a musical. It's gonna be a musical. Great. Let's have Chris Pratt do the Mario musical. Absolutely.
No.
Why not?
Okay, we're getting off topic now, but that we also saw someone dressed up as Chris Pratt
That's so funny.
as cosplay.
It's the best cosplay of the weekend.
He was Mario, except for the Star-Lord coat and visor, and he was carrying around a plant Luigi that said, "I am Luigi Groot" on it.
It was very good. Emma wouldn't get a picture with him, but it's okay. There was some pretty good cosplay. There wasn't quite as much as in previous years, I think.
There's a lot I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
Which I just assumed were some Genshin character or a fighting game character or something.
Both Roxases, though, so.
Both Roxases.
And the Intel Chippy dude.
And the Intel Chippy dude.
I'll never forget the Intel Chippy mascot breaking it down.
Bust a move.
Yeah. Anyway, the last game we played at Tiny Build, Emma was just bad at. Let's be honest. It's called Justice Sucks.
Justice Sucks was what it was called?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a name. Are we sure that's what it was called?
I'll look at it now. I took a picture.
That wasn't like the tagline?
I will double check, but I really think that
anyway, you played as like a Roomba. And you're supposed to like defend your home from intruding robbers. I think this would be more fun if you could actually play tutorial levels instead of them just being like, here's the controls, have fun. Because I could not figure out how to do anything, and then it froze.
Yeah, I don't think we realized that you weren't supposed to be, like, it wasn't obvious that it would have been suspicious for these burglars to see a Roomba. I don't think we realized that you had to not be seen at first.
I don't think that's even true. I was trying to suck them, but that's not how it works.
The game is definitely
You're supposed to, like, hack the other appliances. But when I went into that mood, I couldn't figure out how to do the hacking. I would just go into that mode, and then I would be like, well,
yeah,
I don't know how to do this. So
it's called Justice Sucks Tactical Vacuum Action.
Okay. Anyway, it does seem like something that would work better if you could go through a tutorial. But I did not enjoy it, just jumping right into it.
Maybe next time Justice Sucks. Let's see. What other games did you enjoy? Windjammers 2. Windjammers 2, I think, was a fave.
Mm-hmm. That one's out now. But it's basically like air hockey, but with people. So you pick a character, you're on a map, and you, like, shoot the puck back and forth. And if it either scores in your goal or falls on your side, you get a various amount of points based on, like, where it went in or what happened or something. And you also have, like, I assume unique special moves for each character. So it's like a fighting game, but with air hockey. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't know what I was doing, but I still thought it was fun. And it's co-op, so that's always good.
There was a lot of good stuff at what I think is the .emu booth, by the way, going back. Infernax was okay. I played Infernax. That was the side-scrolling, like, you're a knight thing, where I didn't kill... There was a man in front of me who wanted me to kill him, and I didn't. And then he turned
into an eldritch monster.
Yeah. But I got a bunch of rewards for killing him then, and the lady didn't see me kill an innocent dude. So,
yeah.
It seems like it was the right choice.
There you go. Yeah.
So that one was pretty good. And then I think we also liked Young Souls. Young Souls is definitely one I could see playing, which was a duo local co-op twins dungeon crawler.
Yeah, like a side-scroll dungeon crawler.
Not exact. I mean, yes, but with some... Maybe you're about to say to me, this is allowed in side-scrolling, but there's
like Castle Crashers, sort of side-scroller.
Like Castle Crashers. Maybe that's why I liked it. It was like Castle Crashers. I feel like I need a few more games in my life that are kind of Castle Crashers-y.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, Castle Crashers is usually at PAX, and they weren't there this year.
What's that company? What's the booth?
I don't remember.
You don't know? I don't remember.
If I had remembered, I would have said that instead of Castle Crashers is usually there.
But they weren't there.
Yeah. The merch was pretty weak this year, Talk This fans.
Well, I mean, just not
the merch
a lot
was
of
not
publishers.
Very Talk This geared this year, Talk This fans.
Yeah. Not a lot of publishers that we play games from often, and no fan gamer, so pretty weak.
And the Civilization t-shirt was awful.
Yes. We could have gotten our $70 mug.
What was that? Oh, right. Yes, good. I said I was going to spend the whole episode talking about this. Emma, tell the people about the ripoff that is Old Bill's. No, it's not Old Bill's. Wild Bill's.
Yeah, we saw Wild Bill's old soda with an E in the old. And we're like, that sounds good. Why don't we go get some, like, fancier soda? You know, we're going to have lunch. We can get some soda. We don't have to just get a bottle of ginger ale or whatever. So we got in line, and, like, one of their staff, you know, at least good on them for, like, sending they didn't have the price up. They feel like they should have just had it up, but then you can't trick people in the line, I guess. But the line was getting a little bit too long, I guess, so they sent one of their staff out to, like, explain the prices. So the way it works is you buy a mug, and then you can use that mug for refills the rest of the day, basically. So to get an uninsulated mug, it was $57.
It was $54 and $64.
$54. It was $54. To get an insulated mug, you get $64. And you might be like, well, okay, but, you know, you're there the whole weekend and you want some soda. That's not a bad deal. You know, you get a whole mug you get to keep. You get to have, like, even just one soda a day, right?
Yeah.
But it's another $7 every day that you bring it back to get your refills again. So they make you repay for that soda.
And the overpriced bottles of ginger ale that I bought Emma each day were only $4 each, so...
Yes. It's not that I thought this should have been, like, $15, right? It does come with a mug. I was expecting it to be, you know, somewhat pricey. But I thought it was going to be, like, $35, maybe $40 if they were feeling really... Not $54.
I'd have to feel the mug, right? I should have asked the guy in line, like, can I hold a mug?
Yeah.
Maybe if the mug...
Maybe they're really nice mugs. Who knows?
Right. Like, if the mugs were really nice, maybe. But, like, you know this soda from Wild Bill's Shopee was not going to be that good. But then I really looked differently at everyone carrying their mugs around for the rest of the experience.
Yeah.
I was like, look at these high rollers.
I mean, there was no merch to buy. I guess they could either, like, well, might as well use my merch money and get some soda.
Oh, man. That would be a good, like, if you're a streamer listening to this, that'd be a good video. Like, I try to get my money's worth from old bills at PAX.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the games. A weird one that stood out to me that I played was the Forest Cathedral, which has very True Detective style, like, image. But was at a booth, I guess Whitehorn Games, that they were like, oh, like, it's chill games. It's like games, it's relaxing games.
Yeah.
And this game was one part, like, very chill walking simulator, and one part, like, Celeste-style hacking platformer. Why you're having to hack, like, water filters in this remote stream to make them work.
Yeah, I found that very confusing, too.
It's a little bit of a stretch. It was fun, but it was a lot to be at this booth where they were, like, really pushing, like, these are chill games, for it to suddenly be like, nah, this is a challenging platforming situation.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Celeste is a chill game in its own way.
No, I mean, it's fine. There were no real
Maybe.
consequences to me, like, failing at platforming challenges over and over again, or anything, other than my blood pressure rising. So, other than that.
Yeah, that game was super weird. I'd be really curious to, like, actually look that up and look up a summary, because it's like, what's happening? Like, why are you doing these weird, intense platforming challenges to, like, fish?
Yeah, I know. It has big...
like, what's this guy doing?
It's a big talk this mashup energy. Like, I say that about games all the time, but the true talk this mashup energy is when the games don't really fit. It's like, why are you doing this, like, complicated hacking platforming to catch a fish? I don't know, because it was Animal Crossing and Celeste, and, like, that's what it's gotta be.
I played a game at that booth, also. Do you know what it was called? Like, the Witch's Cookbook?
Could it be Witchwood?
It was probably that, yeah. So I played that because I didn't want to watch Malin fail at the
I got tired of it. It was so Witchwood, yes.
Yeah, you're like this one was kind of fun. I liked it. You wake up as like a witch, and it seems like you've been asleep for a really long time, and you sort of are going around like gathering stuff so that you can like craft potions and materials and stuff like that that have different like magical effects, I guess. So yeah, like sort of maybe you would like that one actually.
It's
you
about
also like
things in their place.
Like picking things up.
Madeline loves to put things in their place.
You love to pick things up too. That's also my impression of you.
Madeline loves picking things up and putting things down in their place.
Yeah.
I'll put that on my website. Let's see. Another one I enjoyed was, well, you played this too, right? Was Rogue Spirit.
Yeah.
AKA Blue Boy. At the 505 booth. Kind of a roguelike, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's like you have to go to an area and clear out all the enemies in that area.
And the gimmick of this is that you're a spirit that's been summoned by, like, the magic people of this village. And so you can kind of jump from body to body to possess different enemies that you defeat. And so you can move to, you know, different, like, you can be an archer, you can be a brute, or you can be just a fighter. And they have different stats. So kind of as you go, you can move from body to body. So that was neat.
Yeah, you can also switch back and forth between, like, ghost mode and whatever body you're possessing, which I think the idea is, like, well, one, your ghost mode moves faster. So I imagine if you wanted to run away, you could do that. Mm-hmm. But I think also the idea is, like, you can scope out what's ahead of you.
Yeah.
Or find, like, a good spot for yourself. to take on a group of enemies. I only figured this out like later into the thing. But I was like, oh yeah, I can switch back to my ghost form.
Yeah, I didn't figure it out until you mentioned it to me. I think I knew it, but I didn't use it. This is another game that I froze, and then the dev team kind of roasted me a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to be like very early access right now.
Yeah.
They're working on it and like gathering feedback, I believe. But I thought it was interesting. I'd be curious to see how it shapes up.
If that game came to console, I would be interested in playing it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to set up a controller with my Mac, so that's a real... Like, I could play Exocolonist on my Mac. That was just a clicky game. But anything that's going to require actual dexterity cannot be done on my computer.
Yes. Yeah.
I also enjoyed, speaking of games that are, like, Talk This mashups, I enjoyed my time with Demon's Mirror, which is a roguelike deck builder / Candy Crush game.
Oh, right, yeah.
It didn't, like, it feels like those mechanics probably get deeper as you go, so it just sort of felt like I was mostly destroying everything to start. But the idea of a roguelike deck builder or Candy Crush mashup, highly on brand for Talk This.
Yeah.
Favorite title was probably Melon Journey Bittersweet Memories.
I thought that game was fun.
Yeah. I would have liked to know a little more where it was going. Like, I enjoyed walking... Like, sometimes that's the problem of having a demo experience, right? Is that I felt like I'm enjoying talking to the characters in this town, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be the whole experience or if there was more to the game than just kind of walking around and talking to people.
Well, you were smuggling illegal melon seeds, which is a very good hook.
Yeah,
I think
it is good. I think there may be, in looking this up for the show, I think there may be other melon journeys.
Interesting.
Yeah, wait a minute. So Melon Journey Bittersweet Memories is not up, but Melon Journey is a 2012 game.
I wonder if this is a remake of some sort.
Hang on.
Or is it a sequel?
I think it's a sequel. Melon Journey Bittersweet Memories, formerly known as Melon Journey 2.
Oh. Well, you are looking for like someone who's disappeared, right?
Yeah.
They seem to set that up at the start. So. I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm intrigued indeed. Now I'm like, what's up with Melon Journey? It's a cult classic RPG Maker game.
Oh. That makes sense. Based on how it looked.
Yeah. Seems like it's a pretty short game. You can just like download it from their itch page. You can play as Cantaloupe or Honeydew. But it takes place in Hogtown, so it's definitely the same. Same game. My most frustrating PAX experience was with Key Locker. But you really just needed
really
some
over
headphones.
the weird block one?
Oh, Toge's or whatever. That one was weird, but just felt like the demo wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah. Like,
Toge's was frustrating because I couldn't tell if there was more to it, but I sort of wonder if it's just like, no, that demo is just really small. So you're right, that was frustrating. But Key Locker made me feel like I was bad at games. Toge's, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but oh well.
Yeah, the issue with Key Locker, I think, is it has like a timing-based attack system, which a lot of games have, right? Is like, you know, like the thing goes down on the thing and you press it at the right time, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how you do damage or guard. But the tutorial doesn't really do a good job telling you this because it like pauses, I guess, and like shows the button really clearly. And then when you go into an actual combat, the indicator is just like a flash on your character instead of like showing you the button or whatever, like anything as clear as the tutorial showed you. So it is not super clear that you're supposed to be hitting it at a certain time. because it doesn't teach that super well. And also just not a very good indicator. If you're going to do a timing-based combat system, you have to sacrifice some of your style. You have to have the awkward blocky UI on it, you know?
Yeah. As Emma said to me many times over the course of the weekend, as I kind of was like, that game. Probably it feels like in a music game, probably there's no audio cue. And there was just not headphones.
Yeah. Also that, yeah.
So that didn't help. Any other games that stick out to you before kind of like final PAX impressions?
Man, what was that one game that I started a new game instead of loading and got myself stuck?
Deadcraft.
Yeah. I thought Deadcraft had some good... I had just finished Stranger of Paradise. I thought it had some good chaos energy, but unfortunately I got stuck in a room where the tutorial requires you to save, but because it's a demo, it doesn't let you save. And that's why they had it on the load screen. But I was stupid and went back to new game.
Emma's QA instincts took over. Let me break this.
I didn't even really break it. I put it back to the main menu before I left. But it just, they had the load game ready so that you would get past that part, I assume. But I was just dumb and started a new game.
Well, the only other thing we really did at PAX is we went to one panel this year. The panel lineup this year was just a little lighter in general. There weren't nearly as many. And there just happened to be fewer that appealed to us. But we went to a panel on video games and wrestling video games that I think turned out to be really quite interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty much like the ideal PAX panel, honestly. Like, I'm not going there expecting, like, really deep lessons necessarily, because it's, like, an hour-long thing. But I want it to be on an interesting topic with people who are clearly enthusiastic about it, and not just, like, purely subjective-based stuff, too, I guess. So, yeah, it felt like the panelists were really enthusiastic, and there was a good balance of, like, actual talking about things with, like, their fun, like, best video games from each generation for wrestling. I thought it was good. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I was surprised by how many people in there were, like, really into wrestling, the people in the audience.
People are really into wrestling. This is something...
I know. It's just funny that they were, like, there for it. They're wearing, like, their wrestling shirts. Like, they went to PAX that day, like, the wrestling panel is today.
It's just, this is something that, like, I guess I should know, because obviously, like, MMA, MMA is, like, a big thing, and that sort of thing, but, like, I'm working on a play that's about wrestling right now, and this panel was so interesting to me, because so many of the things, look, I wasn't sure if the playwright writing this play was, like, telling me that, like, there were similarities between wrestling and theater, because, like, they're a playwright, and so, like, of course they think there's similarities between wrestling and theater, right? So, like, it was fascinating to watch these people who are, like, you know, game developers and, like, obviously very genuine wrestling fans, and, like, literally a wrestler in the case of was his wrestling name Mr. Macho Man?
I don't remember.
It was something highly corny like that, right? But it was cool to see those people also talk about the kind of, like, performative nature of it in a really similar way to the way we've been thinking about it, so that was neat. It's also always cool when the, like, gimmick panelist on the panel, like, in this case, the, like, actual wrestler, seems to know anything about games.
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
I was just, like, when I saw there was going to be an actual wrestler on the panel, I was like, oh, no. Like, don't let this guy talk. Like, what's he gonna know? But, you know, like, he has a lot of interesting, like, insights to share.
Yeah, I feel like part of it must be that, like, I mean, you know, professional wrestling is still very big, but it's not like, it feels like a more personal sport than, like, soccer, where I imagine, like, FIFA stuff is just handled by, like, your team staff, whereas if you have to use your likeness of a wrestler, they might be a little bit more protective or interested in that, which maybe would lead them to learn a little bit more about it. So thinking about it makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, that was an enjoyable panel. I'm glad we picked that
What
one.
game were they working on? Was it just like Wrestle Story?
WrestleQuest.
WrestleQuest. They said it was on the floor. I didn't actually see it.
I know, I never saw it. So I have no idea where they were,
But it sounded it's like a wrestling RPG type thing. And the wrestler seemed very enthusiastic about the story.
Yeah.
So
So if you're a wrestling fan, maybe check out WrestleQuest.
yeah.
So overall, PAX impressions this year?
Definitely smaller.
Definitely smaller.
I feel like usually the video game section is like half the hall. Whereas this year it felt like all the game, everything was about half the hall.
Yeah.
And then they had more space set up for like the food stuff and the PC area and the free tabletop play area. So I feel like the expo hall was just smaller in general. Not a lot of big players came. I assume because I don't know. I don't know why.
I assume because you probably had to make the decision about whether you were going to be there, like, this fall or maybe this winter. And at that point, I'm sure it was just too dicey, right? Like, even now, it's still a little dicey, but, like, I do feel glad that this happened at a time where I felt like, okay, if I'm wearing my mask and everyone's vaccinated, then this is probably fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have felt that way if it was in February, like it usually was.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm sure it's just because people had to make that decision at a point where it wasn't sure if that was going to be where things were looking more on the downswing.
Yeah, I feel like especially if you're a larger group where that you have to get a larger booth.
Yeah.
That takes more logistics, and so you have to decide further ahead of time, like internally, whether that's something you want to do.
Right. Yeah, I really think, and we talked about this after the weekend, it was still a really solid PAX experience. I think we played more games than we've ever played, and that's because you and I don't have that high of a tolerance for waiting in lines.
Yeah.
And especially just, like, I just don't have that much of a tolerance for waiting in lines for things that I'm not that excited about.
Yeah.
Like, we waited in the line for Animal Crossing. Like, we didn't really have to wait in the line for Final Fantasy VII, but I would have.
Yeah.
Like, they're just, but, like, we don't usually have a lot of tolerance for waiting in lines for things that we aren't, like, actually super excited about. And so because of that, because this year it was way easier, especially on Thursday, to just walk up and play things, we were able to play a lot more, which was cool. But I do think that what was missing this year was the kind of, like, flags, like, I don't know, like, standout moments. Like, a lot of games that I played that I really enjoyed, I think I'm just gonna look back on it and be like, I went to PAX. Not, like, I look back on the year before that we went, and it's like, oh, I went to PAX and I didn't get COVID, thank God. But also, I went to PAX and it's like, we just waltzed up and grabbed those Final Fantasy VII tickets on Thursday and we played it. And we met Tom Nook. And, like, the year before that, it's like, I broke Control because I was so bad at it. And we got a beanie. Like, there weren't as many of those, like, real standout big moments. And not that those demos are really, like, that much better or anything than any of the games that we played this time. Because, like, Rhythm Sprout is probably way more fun than any of those games.
Yeah.
But it does feel like there's less to, like, stand out, and that's something that, you know, you want in your PAX experience.
Yeah. I also just think less panels. There were less panels.
Yeah.
That was, like, a big thing why I felt like we were done.
Yeah.
Like, before the end of the day on Friday, because we just stayed on the show floor the whole day on Thursday, and we only went to one panel on Friday. And I remember previously, we usually went to at least one panel a day.
And, like, almost always the panels would be kind of lame. But it's good to have them because Like, I think of, like, man, how did we stay at PAX at, like, late enough to go to the Supergiant concert?
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. Well, we went out and got dinner.
Right, we got dinner.
That's how we did
of course. But still, that concert started at, like, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So...
we just, like, sat around for a while.
Well, I know that, but still, the idea that, like, there was enough to do that we were really able to hang around until dinner and, like, also only not have to spend, like, outrageous amounts of time sitting around is, like, is something that it's, like, there's no way I could have done that this year.
Yeah.
Because there just were not, even though the panels are often kind of, I don't know, the wrestling panel I think is one of the best panels that we've gone to at PAX. It was, like, I learned something, they were excited about it, like, but it wasn't too deep. And I often, like, now that I have that expectation of the panels after these these 3 years that we've gone, it's easier. But I do think the first year or even 2 years, it's like, I expected the panels to be, like, actually good. And this is not a diss to any of the panels we've been to or anything like that. It's just, like, it's just an hour-long panel at PAX, right? Like, there's a ceiling to how insightful that could be. But they're really valuable for a time to, like, sit down and space out a little bit and learn something about games, but not have to be on your feet with Emma's aching back.
Yeah.
The whole time.
That is nice.
Yeah. So I look forward to hopefully a PAX that's back in full strength next year. You wonder if they will avoid February again or not.
I don't know. I will say, I feel like I would have been willing to wait for a couple more games if there had been better lines.
Yeah, the line management was very poor.
They seem to they just left it up to the booths, which I don't know if that's any different than previous years, but they really seemed pretty scattershot about setting this stuff up. So rather than lines at a lot of the smaller booths, they were just like bubbles.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't clear, like, how many people were in front of you, if people were just watching, like there's that co-op puzzle game that's, like, on the side that I thought might have been fun to try, but, like, I didn't want to wait in the bubble with, like, people trying to get past me the whole time.
It does feel like they could have spaced the booths out more, too.
Yes, that too.
I mean, I get it, right? Like, maybe by that point it's too late once you realize it's that number. But I don't know the logistics of how they set this up. But it does feel like some of the line issues, even if people weren't going to be more proactive about setting up their taped off line areas, which they usually are. So it must just have been, like, because fewer people were expected this year. That's just how it was. But I feel like even if you weren't going to do that spacing things out a little more could have been better. The Indie Mega Booth was also a little underwhelming this year. I mean, that's partially because, like, the line management was so bad that
it wasn't one.
Yeah.
It wasn't even really, it wasn't called that.
Right, you're right. It was just, like, the PAX showcase.
Yeah. So I don't think they had the Indie Mega Booth this year.
Well, we'll be back for round 4 next year, no doubt.
Yeah.
Emma will be throwing hand sanitizer at people.
I brought my own this year.
Yep.
I used it.
Maybe we'll play one of the Jackbox games.
We've watched one.
That was awful. That was the worst game experience of PAX, that Jackbox game. What a terrible game to put in the PAX rotation.
There were so many complicated rules to it.
It just didn't. It was bad. It was bad.
It's like it wasn't even, it's like this probably isn't a bad game.
Oh yeah, but it was just
But
totally
like there's
bad
so
for
many
this.
other simpler, quicker ones. Like, why would you choose this one?
Why are you doing this, like, 45-minute long game that sort of relies on you knowing something about the people who you're playing with?
Yeah.
Well, folks, did you go to PAX East this year? Or have you been to PAX East in the past? Or any of the other PAX events? What did you think? And what's your ideal gaming convention look like? Do you enjoy playing a ton of demos? Are you panels all the way? Are you there to sit at the fancy computers and play on them? I don't really understand that, personally. So if that's you, sell me on it, I guess. Because, yeah. on what's up with that. But if you have thoughts on this episode or anything else about the show, you should hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. You can also visit our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can learn all about the show, check out the games that are in the hat for our main episodes, and read our blog featuring long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend and Split Screen. We didn't even talk about how we watched like all of the Kingdom Hearts cutscenes.
We'll talk about that in our 7 weeks of gaming.
You're right. We will. I'll have totally forgotten.
I did put up my monthly blog.
You did?
Just in the nick of time. So.
Wow. What's it on this time?
Video game musicals.
So Mario, the Mario movie.
The Mario movie. No. Yes, I got the inside scoop on the Mario movie from the Chris Pratt cosplayer.
It was actually Miyamoto. Fun fact.
This is Miyamoto.
What have I not said? Oh, the most important part. If you enjoy the show, you should subscribe. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Casts. Anywhere that you can find podcasts, you can find Talk This. Next week, is it my side quest?
Yes, it's your side quest next week.
Okay. That will certainly be on something. I wasn't even sure that it was my side quest next week, so exciting times. So we'll talk about some kind of topic in games, and then in 2 weeks, I also don't remember what the games that we picked are.
I believe it's Professor Layton and Returnal.
That's absolutely right. So I'll have to see if I can play a Professor Layton game, I guess. Well, that's it for this week's show. Thanks for listening, everybody. Emma, do you have a sign-off?
This week, I hope that you receive your picture with the Intel robot.
Ugh.